Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we discuss my thoughts on episode 6 of Astra Lost in Space. Holy shnikes, man. The depth of characterization that was on display in this episode, revolving solely around Luca and Alder, was nothing less than astounding and mind-blowing. And it's funny, too, because I had been saying in the comments since like almost day one that I had been under the impression Luca was actually female, that she was, considering her female, to be somewhat tomboyish or something like that. And because I hadn't really been paying that much attention to the pronouns as far as referring to him as him, I just sort of, because of the female Seiyu, the voice actress in Japan, I just assumed that the character was, for all intents and purposes, like a tomboyish female. And but then I kind of had my course redirected through the interactions I've had with you guys in the comments, where I had brought up that thought, that suspicion, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. And pretty much everyone was like, no, it's a he, as far as the way he's been referenced in the show and things like that, things that I wasn't really that perceptive of in the early going, because I was still trying to learn the characters' names and how they fit into all this and such like that. And now that I have all of their names, their first names in any case, down and such, it was really revelatory, and I like that there is that sort of added representation for people who are born intersexual, as was revealed. I have to admit to not knowing a whole hell of a lot about that. My first thought was, is it a hermaphroditic biology? And it kind of sort of is, but not quite as well, that kind of thing. And just to see how welcoming, once again, the whole cast, the whole crew is to Luca, even after this revelation, and how, he can kind of play to his feminine side a little bit and be cutesy, and, in reaction to getting under Olger's skin and whatever like that, because he has breasts for all intents and purposes. It's part of the chromosomal thing, internally, and having sort of maybe not fully defined sexual organs, as per intersexuality, that framework. And so I like how he can kind of be cutesy and play to that and try to get under Olger's skin that much more. But I absolutely loved, much in the case of what we saw with Yunhua, her being able to let her hair down, eventually, getting her hair cut. And really being able to identify by this new persona of being accepted. We have a similar transition with Olger in this episode, and holy hell, if I didn't hit the nail on the head calling him, referencing him as this show's version of Riverdale's Jughead Jones, even down to the fact that he has aspirations toward journalism, and investigative journalism to boot, and wanting to take down, Luca's father, adoptive father, as we find out, it is revealed, another kid who's adopted. Which, is this a trend? Is this going to be a trend of revelations that continues to unfold? Maybe these kids aren't blood relation like they think they are, or, who knows? Maybe some are, some aren't, and it remains to be seen. I like that, Kanata, for his part, is playing almost investigative journalist right alongside Olger, but like in the grander scope, trying to figure out what got us all put together like this. Other than the fact that the parents do seem to have ties, sometimes by extension, sometimes very closely. It's interesting. All of the facets, the commonalities that do exist that we're becoming aware of. But that, again, it leaves the door open for speculation. Like, well, if it's not that, they're all adopted, well, what the hell is it? Were they all meant to be sent to their deaths? Was Olger's elder brother, who died under suspicious circumstances, to say the least, was he onto something? Did he pinpoint something to do with all of this? I don't know. the one thing that I am very like not sort of forgetful of, but I become absent-minded of, is the fact that we're on a spaceship and we're planet hopping through space, and so could alien life, because we've already encountered like natural alien life on some of these planets and such with the animals and the creatures, is there a sentient alien species involved? Is there some sort of manipulation on that end? Maybe it's, governments of Earth and another alien planet or something. Maybe something grander in scope is going on that this all ties into. I really don't know. But I think it's conceivable. And of course, toward the end of the episode, we have another wink and a nod to, what's going on with Char's, because Ares apparently has photographic memory, and she doesn't remember him in the biology class. So what's up with him? And I can't wait to find out, because last episode discussion video, he was my top guy. I was saying he's the one we know the least about. And that raises my suspicions, especially with how, light and bubbly and knowledgeable he is, and he's always making food, and it's like he's trying to seem unworthy of suspicion. Whereas Yunhua was kind of standing out because of how she was trying not to. It's more successful in Char's background, where he kind of just seems like a background character. He's just making food. He's the chef on the ship, and he's familiar with biology. But there's apparently something else going on there, and because of how it revolves around, so much scientific and science fiction-y sort of stuff like that. I gotta wonder if there is once again estrangement between maybe he and his elders, his parents or whatever. Maybe I don't know, maybe biology is an interest of his, and it's something that's going against type with what his parents' expectations are, or something. Maybe there's a clash there, and that would seem to be the underwriting commonality with all of the characters having, parental estrangement, with the exception of Ares. So, is she the odd duck out just because mommy loves her more than the other parents do? I don't know. We're still not quite clear on how all of the parents feel about all of their children and how all of their relationships are. But it seems to be the repetitive thing is a level of estrangement and misunderstanding and a lack of communication and that kind of thing. That seems to be the commonality. But how that would play into why they're all here necessarily, I don't know. You could dial it back to one of my early speculations was they were just trying to get rid of their kids. Like the kids are balling chains to them, and they just want to get rid of them. Be less burdened by them. And there are some really sick, twisted things that happen in our real world along those lines. Abandoned babies and children and whatever like that. Children put to death by unwanting parents. And so I don't know if that's how dark, sick, sadistic, and twisted this is going to get, But touching back on Alder, like I said, being able to have hit his characterization dead on the head, that he has investigative journalistic aspirations, and how that plays into his elder brother, who was the only one who ever understood him and was kind to him. It was ripped right out of the film Stand By Me, where, the main character's elder brother died in an accident, and the father even pointedly says, it should have been you. It should have been you, Gordy. It should have been you. And so I was reminded of that film, and just that rapport that, we saw Luca sort of seeding in the last episode in his relation with Alder, how it came to fruition in this episode, where they're trying to save each other's lives, and Alder's willing to sacrifice his life for Lucas after that revelation, after everything lands home that no, he's not the first son, the first male born. He will not be the one to take over his father's political aspirations, and he was actually adopted, and all this kind of stuff, and then the intersexuality and how that proves the point that Lucas' father ain't gonna give crap one about him, at least on that emotional level, where it's just like, oh, checks and balances. I happen to lose an adoptive son. Well, I still got my my other boy, my prized boy, who's going to be my heir. What an asshole. Putting it lightly. But again, Alder's, the whole revelation of his character, and now his, while, Ares does make a point of saying he hasn't become more talkative. He has, in fact, become more approachable. You see him letting Footy wear his hat and everything like that. And how that, again, talking about Stand By Me, that was something that was an element in that film where a baseball cap was passed down from the elder brother who died to the younger brother who was the main character. And a lot of this whole framework of this story, it's kind of coming of age where these characters, they've been so put upon and so sort of repressed, held back by their parents and things like that, by that estrangement and that lack of understanding, that the family that they're really beginning to have is with each other. And so that's why I'm now stymied by the fact that is, once again, the question, the overhanging question, is one of these characters actually a guilty party? Is one of them the enemy? I'm beginning to feel like from the word go, that was sort of an overarching misdirect where no, like none of them are. Like I will be surprised. I still have suspicions. Like again, Footy's puppet and what's that about? And is it an AI? Is it something that's they're being observed by the powers that be who manipulated them all into this? Of course, now that they're questioning Char's, Ares pointedly is questioning him. It's like, okay, he's probably not, because if they're calling attention to it, unless it's revealed that, oh yes, I lied and I wanted to make sure this would go on forever, and so I busted the comms and all this kind of stuff. I have yet to see anything that really stands out to me that signals to my mind, oh, those are suspicious actions or behaviors or things to say. Where characters are enigmatic, it doesn't necessarily follow through that they are an actual, enemy, a bad guy, that kind of thing. And I had been wondering, it was a point of conversation between me and one of you guys in the comments, where I went back to check on episode 1, and toward the end of that episode, Kanata had pointed out that the comms were not working, only is it then later revealed in episode 2, Zach, pieces together that somebody deliberately tore it apart, and his chief suspicion is it must be one of this crew who did it. But I had started to wonder, because, Kanata already knew it was broken. Could it have been deliberately torn apart or whatever, maybe harvested for parts, materials, before they ever even found the Astra? Like, I don't know. It's just, right now, once again, this episode, because of its focus on the characterization between Luca and Alder, which I was so enamored with and drawn into and found captivating and moving, I've dialed back speculations and suspicions, and it wasn't the focus of the episode, and it doesn't feel relevant to it overall, even though they try to give us that cliffhanger with Ares being like, Chars, you son of a bitch, what's going on? But I love this show. I love this mystery. I can't wait to get the answers eventually, especially revolving around Ares, because, as I say, she seems to be the odd duck out. And it's interesting how, like, she has the photographic memory, and she's able to raise herself to the challenges time and again, but that is in stark contrast to her being aloof and oafish and scatterbrained and clumsy in the beginning. It's just like, we do still see shades of that, but then she also appears smarter than she has any right to be, as compared to how we first saw her depicted. So I don't know. It's all still up in the air. But the thing that I'm left over with by the end of this episode is just the great characterization of Luca and Alder, and the rapport between them, and how that's going to remain playful, antagonistically playful, and I love that Alder found a place for himself, much as Yunhua did, and things like that. So As far as characters that are still yet to be wholly explained, I think Zach is the one who is the most standout to me right now that I want to know more about. Like, now that we know Charles is going to have the focus put on him in the next episode, for all intents and purposes, it's like, Zach, what do we know about Zach other than the fact that he's a pilot and he has this background and his relation to his family's relation to Quittery's family, and how, you know, they were sort of friends in the early going. So I want to know more about Zach. You know, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 6 of Astra Lost in Space, if you've seen it as well. Any further speculations you may have, if that was entirely out the window as it was for me. You know, you're watching this episode because of the characterization, the depth of that characterization, and the revelations, and the rapport that was born out of all of it. Did you appreciate it as much as I did? Were you shocked, surprised at all, as I kind of was about Luca's being, you know, intersexual and such like that? Even though, as I say, I had the suspicion that, you know, it might be a female tomboyish character, but now knowing that it goes much further down the rabbit hole, in a sense, from a biological standpoint, it makes Luca's character that much more standout and intriguing to me. And I'm glad that there is that representation for the people out there who were born that way. And so, yeah, love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Just be respectable, sharing your opinions, and respectful of others. Please post no spoilers, but you can definitely hint till the cows come home, because I love the speculation. I love trying to piece it together, you know, whenever corresponding back and forth with you guys who actually, like, read the source material and know things about things. You know? Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video and would like to consider supporting my channel, please have a look at my PayPal support link, posted both in the description as well as the comments below. It affords you opportunities very much akin to Patreon, where you can set up a monthly recurring contribution, a one-time only contribution, or you can send me a personal message with any contribution you send my way, requesting topics I may discuss in the future, ask for shoutouts, or just about anything else that crosses your mind. And anything you saw fit to send my way would be 2 thumbs up for me in securing my longevity on YouTube for the foreseeable future. And so yeah, until the next one, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.